Hey guys, today I thought I would go over my personal favorite pickups that I got throughout the year of 2021. Also show you what my favorite game of the year was, and also a channel update towards the end of this video too. So this video really is a response to Figsy Games, who is a channel that is subscribed to me as well as I'm subscribed to him as well. He is a Australian game collector that he has a complete set of PlayStation 3 Australian games. I recommend you guys go check it out. It is a really, really cool collection that he has over there. And he also recently did a video showing his top favorite pickups that he got throughout last year. So you know what? Thought I would do something similar here. So yeah, Figsy, if you're watching, thanks for also watching my content as well. And yeah, this is for you and also all of you guys that have continued to support me throughout the years. So let's go ahead and start out with first deck here. This first thing, this is really like just an accessory, but what it is though is something to me is really, really special. That's the Game Boy player. Now, I do have like the actual Game Boy player unit itself. It's just attached to my GameCube in the back there. But why that I really liked it is because also like the startup disc, like I also got a complete copy of that as well with like the slip cover, the case, along with the disc and the manual right there. And if you guys are into the GameCube, you know that this is not a common thing at all, because this is just something that people lost when you're talking about the Game Boy player. And even just like the slip cover right here is extremely rare to find for like a complete copy like this. So yeah, really happy to have gotten this. Now, I say the one game that I'm sure some of you may have experienced this, but you ever have like those times where like you go into a store, you're not fully aware of like certain things you're picking up, but once you do buy it, you bring it home, then you realize when you go online, you just realize that this particular game is just very, very expensive for some reason. And yeah, this was that game for me this year. This one I got from Bob's Bullpen, which I did do a pickups video on it. This one, it's Castlevania Order of Aslesia, I think that's how you say it. The only downside with this copy is it's missing the manual, unfortunately. But if I recall, I probably spent like around like $15-20 for this game. I can't remember what I spent, but I know I did say it in the video though, of the one that I picked this up in. But yeah, this game really complete goes for more than $100 though. That blew me away when I like came back and realized how much it goes for. Even though, yeah, it is like a Castlevania game, an older one, and some of them do hold their value and whatnot, but I never realized just like how like expensive this really is though. So really happy to have picked that up in hindsight. Now this next game, this was like the last thing I showed in a pickups video throughout last year. This is a game that is based on a series that I absolutely love so much. It's probably my favorite modern day JRPG series. That's Persona 2 Innocence soundtrack bundle on the PSP. If you're into PSP collecting, you do know the Atlas published games are amongst like the most expensive games on the system. Mainly due to the nature, just how, you know, Atlas games are for like older Atlas games, that they just get expensive over time because they just do like low print runs on their stuff. Plus, Persona is also a series that ever since 5, the series has just gotten way, way more popular than it has ever been. So as a result, you got plenty of new fans that are going back to see what the previous games were like. And they never were like really big sellers, despite them being like, you know, a phenomenal series and whatnot. But yeah, this is one that quite expensive overall, but got this with store credit at Grand Traverse Games here in Michigan from my whole amiibo collection that I traded into them months ago. So really happy to have this over a complete amiibo collection. I'm dead serious on that. Now, in terms of like games that have had like a limited release from, you know, limited run games, all those type of independent websites, this is probably my favorite one I got, where it's where, you know, it's a limited release, but the game it is based on a series that I really, really want to get into, and I hope that the remakes that they're doing for current platforms, I seriously hope they do well, because the third game in this series is a Sega Saturn exclusive game that hopefully, if, you know, these remakes are successful, they'll be able to fund doing a remake of the third game, because I believe that this is an amazing series. It's Panzer Dragoon remake on the PS4. This is like a classic edition where they put it in like a Sega Saturn style case right here. I do have like a standard PS4 case of this game as well. It's just stored away on my shelf here. But yeah, if anything that I've picked up throughout the year on like these websites that do, you know, these limited releases, this is definitely my favorite one that I've gotten. Please consider like support this game here, like the remake, I mean, so that way these developers can get enough support and funding so they can keep making like the next two games to do remakes of. They are working on Panzer Dragoon 2's Y right now, but I hope like they continue to be successful and that they can do a remake of Panzer Dragoon Saga, because that game deserves to like have more of an audience that have played it. Unfortunate that the original version of it, with how rare and that so few people have played it, and yet it's the highest rated Sega Saturn game and still such an amazing experience that I have yet to play, but God, I've heard nothing but amazing things on that. Now, for another big highlight throughout this entire year was basically my whole PlayStation 5 collection, because the system is now over a year old. So as a result, I have gone out of my way to like get a bunch of physical games for it, especially all of like the limited release ones from Limited Run Games, Special Reserve Games, like all those websites and whatnot. But out of all games that I picked up for the system, this is my favorite one that came out, or really I should say, this is like also another game that I was so happy that this was getting a physical release. It's Doki Doki Literature Club Plus. I do have the other physical versions of this game on the PS4 and the Switch, because I love this game so much. It is among one of my favorite games of all time. I don't want to say much on it though, especially if you've never played the game before. This is one of those games where you have to go in completely blind. Though I do recommend you play like the PC version if you can, because that's like the version that this game is like, to get like the best experience out of it, you do have to play the PC version. Plus play like the original version of the game that came out years ago if you guys still somehow have avoided that, because it's free to play and it blew up when it first came out. But when it was revealed that it's getting like a remastered physical release, oh, I was so happy to get it that I went out of my way to get multiple copies of it. Now, in terms of like for the PS5, of like some of my pickups that would probably be considered very valuable, there's two of them that come to mind here. One of them that I didn't get down here, but it's my Tales of Arise Collector's Edition, which you've seen in previous videos. As far as like, you know, going through all of my games for the system, that ranks among the most expensive one, understandably so as well. But then the next one on the list, I'd say, is this, and I almost can never find this online today. That's the Neptunia Reverse limited edition. Now, there is two different limited editions of this game here. The first one they released was the Japanese exclusive Go-Go edition, which I do have. But when they revealed that they were bringing this game to the States as Neptunia Reverse, they did do a different type of limited edition, which you see right here, and this is extremely hard to find. This and the Go-Go edition, they're two completely different editions where they have different contents inside of it. So yeah, this is probably like my next most valuable thing that I have on the PS5 as of today. Now, real quick, my favorite game of the year, or at least two of my favorite games of the year that I go back and forth of which was my most favorite, but these games, these games were awesome. That'd be Metroid Dread. Such an amazing Metroidvania game, like a return to form for the series. Like Samus Returns was like a very good game, but somewhat alienating for what the series for like the original games were back then, up to like, you know, the GBA. But Metroid Dread, oh my god, this game is awesome, and it's so good to finally have like the next like part of the whole storyline after Metroid Fusion, which was what, back in 2002 or 3 Metroid Fusion came out. So like nearly 20 years later, we finally get the next entry in the game's storyline here, and overall such a good, fun, awesome game here that gets pretty like suspenseful with those bots that chase you around. My next favorite game of the year, and my favorite PS5 game as well, Returnal. This is such an awesome roguelike game that if you're into, say, like games that have like an interesting atmosphere behind them, you know, like your Silent Hill, or just games that have a bunch of visual storytelling, I can't recommend you pick this game up. It has such a really interesting, bizarre atmosphere behind it that you like piece together of like what the story is all about with its audio logs, the character that you play as for like her backstory. On top of the gameplay is just so much fun as well. If you're into roguelikes, you'll definitely like this game. If you're not a fan of that genre, then this game probably won't change your mind on it. But nonetheless, to me, this was the best game on the PS5 that came out last year. Really happy to have gotten it. Now, if you guys recall earlier in 2021, particularly around like, I think it was like mid or late April, that the PS3 gained a lot of traction in the whole game collecting market, right? Due to the whole story with Sony saying that they were shutting down the online stores for them, but they backtracked on that due to backlash. But as a result, a bunch of the games just shot up in price, though. A lot of like some exclusive games, as well as some third-party games that for some reason they went up in value, but the 360 versions still remained at their original price for some of them. But and that was also a time when I was really getting into collecting for the PS3. It's just unfortunate that some of the games that went up in value I just didn't have it yet, but I did get some here that shot up in value, though, for prices I was good paying for. And these are like special, as well as, again, for like all the titles that just went up in value. That's Puppeteer, Folklore, and 3D Game Heroes. What the whole community would say that this is the holy trinity of PS3 exclusive unique games right here. Both of these, they have such unique gameplay styles that I can't recommend you guys pick them up here. Folklore, it's I haven't played it yet, but it is like an interesting hack and slash type game that you steal abilities from the enemies you defeat, that all the face buttons on the DualShock 3 like dictate like what attacks you do and all that. Plus has a very cool art style. It's kind of like an anime inspired art style, and the story is pretty interesting. Puppeteer, this was made by the same guys that did, I'm pretty sure, like Little Big Planet. It was made by a Japan studio, which, rest in peace, Japan studio. This is like a really interesting platforming game that it changes up the style of like the theater that you're on. So yeah, highly recommend you try this game out. Then my favorite one, 3D Game Heroes. Now, I actually had this game for quite a while, but I just didn't have the manual, though, is all, when when prices started hiking up for this. So I found that at a local store, they did have like the game, but it did have the manual in it, and I straight up asked, like, yo, can I please have the manual? As strange as that sounds, but I really do want the manual. Thankfully, they did sell it for me, that I'm happy to have a complete copy. This is one of the best Zelda clones out there. It's very similar to like Zelda 1 and Link to the Past, so if you're a big fan of those games, you have to try this, like right now. Another thing that of note for me throughout the year, I started getting into the GameCube. And it's kind of like not a great time for that because, you know, GameCube prices have just skyrocketed for the last year. But it is a system that I have always been fascinated by. It is my second favorite Nintendo console ever, number one being the Super Nintendo. But the GameCube was a system that deserved a lot more love that it originally got back then. That as a result, I do want to get like a decent collection going. And this stack here, these are all of like the games I got that when you think of the GameCube, these games come to mind. So I'll go through them here. For this first one here is one of my favorite games of all time, Resident Evil 4. This is the original version of Resident Evil 4 that came out. It was supposed to be a GameCube exclusive, part of the Capcom 5, if you guys remember that story. Until, like, you know, when Capcom realized, like, God, the GameCube was just vastly underperforming compared to the PlayStation 2, so let's port this game to that system as well, and then like everything else under the sun. Still to this day, they keep like porting the game to like every possible platform they can, and rightfully so, because this is such a fun, amazing game. This is such a masterpiece of a third-person survival horror game. Absolutely love this game. If you're a fan of Resident Evil, like, you have to play this game. It is such an amazing, fun game. Next one is Tales of Symphonia. The Tales of series I didn't play until Tales of Arise when I got a free code for it for like a pre-order in the collector's edition, but I guess it wasn't going to arrive on time, but I got a free copy of the game digitally. But Tales of Symphonia is one that is like a really popular game amongst the fan base that I do look forward to like playing this one when I get the chance for it. Next one, I'm sure we all know, Super Mario Sunshine. Personally, I'm not a fan of Mario Sunshine compared to like the other 3D Mario games, but I think I'd still rather play this over 64, I would say. But when I say when I'm not much of a fan of this, I'm just not a fan for like that you need to like get the Shadow Mario levels for like every single like world in this game here in order to like get to the final boss, but nonetheless still like a very good game though, that if you have a GameCube, definitely get it for your collection. Another game that was, I'm pretty sure this was part of the Capcom 5 back then, that's Beautiful Joe. This is a side-scrolling beat-em-up game that has like a really cool art style to it. I just saw this at like Chaotic, and that when I saw like the name of it, it's like, oh, this was a big title back then for the GameCube, so let me definitely pick this up here. This was my very first game that I got for the system, plus my first GameCube game ever. And I'm really happy that it was this game. In fact, I really, really was debating if I should have picked this game up here at the time, because it is an expensive game for the system, and it is one that has always held its value throughout the years. Like, even before GameCube prices were getting to like where they are now, this was always a game that just held its value, and that if you look at like price charting for this game, it has never dipped down in price whatsoever. And that game is Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes, which I got a nice plastic case over this. If you're aware, this is still, you know, a GameCube exclusive. It's a remake of Metal Gear Solid 1, my personal favorite game of all time, by the way. And yeah, this was a game that I know I absolutely needed to have this game, because it's Metal Gear, my favorite game series of all time, and just an exclusive GameCube game, so like, I'll definitely pick that up here. I do still like prefer like the PS1 version of Metal Gear Solid 1 though, but this is still like an awesome game though. Yes, some of the scenes that are really like, can you really take this seriously type of things here, but yeah, if you can, do pick this game up though, so you can like experience Metal Gear Solid in like a different way though. It's not meant to be like a replacement for the first game, it's just meant to experience it in a different way though, is the way that I look at it. Another one here, Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. We all know the story with this game. It was pretty controversial before it came out, but nowadays, many years later, people absolutely love this game so much. It's not my favorite Zelda game by any means, but still like a great one, though, to still play to this day. Though I suggest you play the Wii U version of this game, though, because it's just a vastly better version. And the last one here, the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. You could only get this game back then if you pre-ordered Wind Waker back then, where they just had like stacks of these here that if you pre-ordered Wind Waker before they came out, they would just give this game to you at checkout. I'm pretty sure this was like the first time they released the Master Quest version of Ocarina of Time, but with a sale that I got this on Black Friday at Chaotic Games, which I did do videos on one that I show this off in, that I was really happy to pick this up at the time that I did there for a good price. Now, probably my favorite pickups that I got throughout the whole year that you guys have seen in my videos would have to be these right here. So that is Lunar Silver Star Story Complete, Ark the Lad Collection, and finally Lunar 2 Eternal Blue Complete. These were all published working design games that they did for the PS1 back then. I did do a video explaining all these in details here on my channel, as well as doing unboxing of all these. Did get nice protective cases for these. And this was the first time that I ever played the Lunar games, and I gotta say, I'm so happy I did. Aside from, Metroid Dread and Returnal, these games are probably my favorite new experiences that I've played throughout the year. These are such amazing RPGs. You guys still haven't played them, highly recommend you do. That I even went out and got the Lunar Silver Star Harmony limited edition on the PSP as well, also in a nice protective case right here. So I do plan on getting other games throughout the series, though the Sega CD versions of Lunar 1 and 2. Not looking forward to getting those in the future, given prices for some Sega games can be extremely expensive these days. But hey, one day I'll get them, though. Like I said, do check out the video that I made on these, unboxing them, because the contents that these have, though, is amazing. These are probably still the best collector's editions of games that I have ever seen, due to the stuff that you get with them. Now, I also did get a few new systems throughout the year, and probably my favorite one that I got would be the Dreamcast here. This was also my very first Sega system that I ever got, alongside a 32X that I got on the same day as this here, which is funny. I have a 32X, but I don't have a Genesis, though. How about that? I will get a Genesis soon in the future, though, because they are still incredibly cheap. For consoles, they are still very, very cheap for original Genesis Model 1 and Model 2s. But the Dreamcast, it had to be my very first Sega system. When I look into the Dreamcast overall from other YouTube channels, its library, and the unique things that this console still does compared to even every console ever, this system just fascinates me so much with the way it uses its controllers, memory cards with the VMU, and just the sad, sad history that this console suffered back then. It really should have survived longer than it did. Had so much awesome games for it, though I'm gonna give you guys a harsh truth about me, though. The games that the Dreamcast is probably most well known for, that'd be Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 and Shenmue 1 and 2. Shenmue 2 only came out in Europe and Japan. We never got it in the States, unfortunately. But those games, I don't care for them. I think Shenmue is a horrible, horrible game. I'm not a Sonic fan at all. So if you guys love those games so much, do not hate me. I just have certain tastes, and Shenmue to me is one of the most boring games of all time. I'll leave it at that. But nonetheless, I'm still happy to get a Dreamcast, though it still gets games to this day from independent developers, which just blows my mind, honestly. So yeah, really happy to have this in the collection. I do plan on installing a GD EMU in this here, to which you basically will take the disk drive out of this, and you'll be running games off of an SD card in here. I plan on doing that though, so I can just try to experience the whole library, because, you know, a lot of Sega Dreamcast games, like, they have just gone up in price, obviously due to, like, they're not as common, given, like, you know, how long that this system lasted and whatnot. That just not a lot of stuff out that exists, unfortunately, despite it being such a phenomenal console. But yeah, that will do it for all of, like, my highlights throughout the year, except, though, just remember one more thing that I almost left out. I did get a CRT, a Sony Trinitron CRT. It's a 24-inch that does have component video on it, so I can get the best possible picture quality out of retro systems. I did make a video explaining, you know, why you should still consider getting a CRT. That I recommend you guys check that out. But yeah, the way that I got that though, I got it from, like, an old couple that was living, like, 30 minutes away from me. They were just giving it away for free. And it had to be, for me, it had to be a Sony Trinitron CRT to get compared to, like, any other models out there. And they were the only ones that had this TV that was close to me, and it was for free. So minus, like, $10-15 gas money, came home with a very nice, sweet Trinitron CRT. So really happy to have this, especially considering for, like, projects that I have coming up in the future. And speaking of that, where I plan on going with this channel throughout, especially for, like, the next few months, I do want to get into doing, like, modifications for retro consoles, explaining to you guys, you know, how do you like, disassemble them, how do you fix certain things with them. Don't get me wrong, you know, pickups, they're not going away. We're still going to be doing those at the end of every single month, though, of course, because that's just, you know, an easy given thing to do, that's just really easy to make and all that. But I do want to expand this channel in, like, different ways, though, especially considering that in my personal life, I am an IT technician. I love, you know, fixing computers, electronics, and whatnot. And that I did recently get a soldering iron for Christmas from my parents, so that opens up a lot of doors for me to do modifications to consoles and whatnot. So yeah, if you guys are going to be interested in that, do stay tuned for that. That I do plan on making, like, a whole series of just how to do the, like, repairs on consoles, do modifications, especially, you know, for SD card mods that I plan on doing. So yeah, do look forward to stuff like that in the future. I also started, like, doing a vlog series of, like, what I'm doing for my like, my setup for consoles, for how I plan on having it, like, set up, and even with these modifications, that over the year I will be, like, making, like, updates to it to explain to you, like, where I'm at with it, or, like, big changes that I'm going with it. Do check out, like, the first video that I made on that that I did, like, a few weeks ago. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm going with this channel here. Hope you guys do look forward to seeing that content, and do subscribe for more content like this in the future. Thanks for watching, guys, and also Happy New Year if you're not sick of hearing that already. So yeah, I will see you guys next time.